Hi guys, and welcome back to another video Gaming with the Powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video, I'll be giving you my review of the board game Chronicles of Paldon, which is coming to gamefound sometime soon in Q1. Now, Chronicles of Paldon is coming to you from Triturus Games. This is a game for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 plus, right around 90 to 150 minutes per playthrough. Now, if you guys are not familiar with our review process, we go a little bit more in depth than maybe some other content creators do, and we break the game down into 7 different categories normally. However, since this is not quite a finished product, there's only certain categories that I'm going to talk about today, which are going to be the theme, the components, the setup, the length, the difficulty, and the replayability. Once I talk about all those different categories, within each of those different categories, let me say I'll be giving a number rating based on the BGG scale, and then I'll kind of wrap things up with my overall rating, talking about some of the things I really enjoyed about this game, and maybe some hesitations that I think you guys might have when it comes to the Chronicles of Paldon. But let's go ahead and jump right in, starting off with the theme. Now, the Chronicles of Paldon is kind of a strategic economic Euro style game that's set in a steampunk setting, and a great catastrophe has kind of happened in this city of Paldon. And so you are taking on the role of an inventor and your 2 apprentices, and you have kind of been tasked with rebuilding the infrastructure here of this particular city. And so you have a workshop, and you're going to be sending your apprentices out into the world to gain materials, to try and become patrons, to have these city constructions, like these city contracts, which are going to generate you massive renown, and then also just get materials where you can kind of rebuild some of your own machines or build machines in general, and then give these machines to different factions to kind of help support them in what they've lost. You can also use these machines to sell on the black market as well to get some nice cash. But I think City of Paldon does a great job of tying the theme into mechanics, and so I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10 here. And let's go ahead and jump down to the table, where I'm going to give a brief overview of kind of the mechanics and how it ties into the theme. All right, guys, we are down here at the table, and like I mentioned, the overall objective of the Chronicles of Paldon here is you will be taking on the role of an inventor. And so you're going to have this inventor mat with resources, and you'll have kind of like a tableau area that you will kind of build out right here. And you will also have 2 apprentices in your player color. So there will be 2 little cards here for these mats, and they will have 2 standees as well. And like I mentioned, you are going to have a workshop somewhere in one of these particular districts. And so each player is going to have their own workshop token and choose where their primary workshop wants to be. And they're going to be sending these 2 apprentices out into the city to do different things, right? So we have these 4 spots in a corner here, which are merchants, where they can buy specific materials. We have these city district headquarters here, where they can go to these spots, and if you have built machines and given them to your apprentices, they can donate these machines to these different city factions to gain their support and kind of increase their renown over here on this track. You can go ahead and go to these specific locations right here with the question marks, and you might see some of them, to try and become a patron for these city contracts. And these city contracts are going to generate you massive amounts of renown. You can go to the university here to gain some knowledge. You need some of these skills in order to build these certain machines. We have this phologistic material here that's kind of shared amongst all players. And then of course you can build machines. You have the machines themselves that you can build. And so, you know, on these cards, you know, you can give these a send for renown. You can sell them for gold. Each of these different machines are going to have their own special abilities, and some of them work in conjunction with each other. So, you know, this is sold on the black market together with any other toy. You will get extra cash for this. There are machines that you can house in your warehouse or your workshop that will give you passive bonus effects. You can also build machines to give to your apprentices that they can kind of lug around, so your apprentice can have special bonus passives as well. And so there's a myriad of different machines for you to build, and there's a myriad of different options for you to take on. But the overall premise is, by doing all these different things, you know, generating machines, building machines, you're getting money, you're using them to support factions to get renown, you're building city contracts to get renown, and the player with the most renown at the end of the game is going to be the winner. Now, the game is going to end one of three ways. If one of these factions reaches the top space on this track, all four city constructions are built, or every time you support a particular faction, you will put one of these tokens out in one of these different districts or quarters here. And once one of these entire quarters is filled up on two different spots, that will trigger the end of the game as well. So I think the Chronicles of Paldon does a great job of tying in the mechanics of this game with this overall theme of kind of rebuilding the infrastructure of the city of Paldon, which is why I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Okay, guys, I'm going to stay here for a sec and talk about the components. So, of course, this is a prototype version, so some of these components are subject to change, but based upon everything that I've seen here, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 7 out of 10. I think some of this stuff is really good and really solid. The board itself, I do really enjoy the board. However, I wish some of the colors on the board were a little bit distinct. Sometimes it's kind of hard, you know, when these kind of blend with each other. I wish, you know, like this side is perfect. These are two very distinct colors, but these colors kind of blend. These colors are very similar as well. These two kind of are distinct, but you can kind of see where I'm getting at. I just wish some of these colors were different, were more distinct, so you can kind of clearly see where they're going. But I do love the artwork. I do love the spacing on the board. Everything is kind of clear and concise. The roads, I like the fact that they went with these yellow roads on here. They're very clear and easy to see. All of the different workshop and spots are very easy. So really great job. I do really enjoy that they put the currency of what each of these material cost here as like a player aid on the board itself. And then also like the movement, when you're taking movements, sometimes you might have to pay extra costs. They put this on the board as well. I think that is phenomenal. Skills track, they also did this. So when you're doing skills, there's a certain way you might have to pay extra resources for this. And so you reference this chart. I'm so glad they put this on here so you can kind of see all the different skills and expert skills in the game. So I think the board is really well done, other than the fact I wish there was more distinct colors. Let's talk about these player boards. I really enjoyed these player boards as well. I wish they were a little bit thicker. Hopefully that comes in the final product of the game. The gears work seamlessly. I think this is a great way to track resources, very steampunk-esque. I love the feel and the color of the boards. Being able to put these resources down here are perfect. I think they're a perfect size. They didn't make them too big. They did not make them too small. Solid job there. Your apprentice mats, I think they did good. You know, you're having to manage 2 apprentices, so having 2 little cards. Maybe if you made like a little board for them, but again, that's more resources. But I do enjoy the cards, being able to manage your apprentices, very distinct, so you can tell which one is which, and then they have the spots around the side. Okay, let's talk about the meter here. I do love this clockwork meter. This is kind of cool. However, I wonder if there can be a slot, or maybe this kind of thing sticks out on the board, but it's not too bad. You get used to it every once in a while, but I think that's pretty cool. But I wish it could like kind of sit in there so it wouldn't move so often, because somebody might knock it off and it gets kind of out of there. So that's kind of just a small little thing. And then lastly, let's talk about the standees. Simple cardboard standees. Each of these do have their placements. I wonder if there can be like an acrylic standee upgrade. That'd be super cool, or a miniature upgrade with this game. That'd be cool as well. The very last thing is, let's talk about the cards. Okay, so there are some positives and some negatives with the cards for me. Of course, I love that anytime you are having a lot of things going on a card, I think the spacing is key, and I think they do a really good job here with the particular spacing. You know, they're giving you a little sample of what this actual card is, so the arm strengthener and what it does, but they also didn't blow this thing up because you have a lot of text on it. So they clearly put everything in one section. So you know, in the top left hand corner, if I support a faction, that's the renown I'm getting, and then that's how much I would sell this for at the market. Down here is the cost, and then in the middle is the bonus that I'm going to get. Now, my only pet peeve sometimes is this Victorian style text. Can be very hard to read sometimes on some of these cards, like like, you know, when you look at something like this, is that a lignin extractor? I think that's what it is. But again, it is meant to be that particular style. But I think they've done a great job with a majority of the cards with this specific text of being able to read things as such. I do enjoy that there are 3 different styles of cards. So you have your standard cards, you have discard cards, which will kind of give you like a one-time bonus. And then they also have event cards, if I can find one here, that will come out throughout the game. This one. So we have like a disease event that will come out. And so I do enjoy that as well. But that's most of the components. We got little cardboard punch outs for your skills that you'll put on your mat. You got disease tokens here. The rule book, I think they've done a great job with the rule book. It was very easy to understand this rulebook and get this game to the table and play it for the first time. I did not have to reference a lot of things. Symbols on the back is amazing. The best part about this game is a quick reference guide. Okay, they sent one with me. I hope you guys do. I hope they do more and give 4 quick reference guides. This thing is phenomenal. I use this more than anything when playing this game, and I'm super, super excited about that. Storage is very basic here, of course. They just have one side for all your components where your boards are going to be, but everything fits in here nice and snug. But all that being said, like I said, I think there's some good solid components here, so I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. All right, guys, moving on to the setup here. So I'm going to go ahead and give the setup a 7 out of 10. I think there's some good setup here. The longest part of the setup is going to be separating out all those different materials in each individual stack, and then what they also have you do is there's some cards that are considered first round cards, separating those out before you mix them in with all the other markets. But there's not really too bad setup. Now, the first time I set this game up, it took me a while, but the second and third time that I got this to the table, the setup went pretty smooth. So thankfully, there's not a lot of components and tokens and things like that that you're having to split and divvy amongst all the players or put out on the board in general. So I think it's a solid, good setup. Alrighty, moving on to the length here. So it does say 90 to 150 minutes on the box. I would say at 2 players, you're looking at about a 90 to 100 minute game. 3-player game, you're looking about that 150 mark. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because that's pretty much right on the mark with it. But I think there's also some variable length with this because there are points in the game, and it does say in the rulebook that it offers simultaneous play. And so I think that's super great is when you've gotten to the table when you've gotten to this table 2 or 3 or 4 times and everybody has played the game before, you can do this simultaneous play and it makes the different things go by really, really quickly. And so, the planning phase is simultaneous, the building machines is simultaneous, but you could actually get to a point where the action phase, as long as you guys are not trying to steal anything from each other, that can be simultaneous as well, which really makes the game fly. So there is potential for this game to be, maybe around 75 minutes at 2 players and even shorter if you guys have played this multiple times. So that's really unique and cool about Chronicles of Paldon, but 7 out of 10 for me with the length. All right, moving on to the difficulty. As always, guys, the lower the number, the easier we feel the game is. The higher the number, the more challenging we feel the game is. And I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 6 out of 10. This is kind of a Euro style game, so there's a lot going on, right? You have 4 different phases. Within each different phase, there's a bunch of different steps going on. Some of these are simultaneous, some of these you have to take your turn, but it's just that maintenance process of once you're in the game, probably about 60 minutes in the game, some of this stuff kind of gets pretty tedious and it's just like, okay, did I do this? Did I do this? Oh, nope, I forgot this. Just a couple big things that you might forget is when you're discarding cards in the planning phase, you can receive 1 flux or 1 cash for that. One of my friends who was playing went like 2 whole rounds without getting his cash for that before he realized it. The action phase, I wish there was a way for you to track your actions. So you get 4 actions and sometimes you can combo these different actions or kind of do different things. And there is the possibility that you forget sometimes. So it's always having to count to yourself. But I don't think the game itself is very difficult, right? The game kind of moves you in a pattern of what you want to do. You want to build machines. You need material to build machines. So you go and buy materials, then your apprentice goes back to your workshop to drop those materials off, or if you have cards, and do that. What makes the game very challenging is all those little steps in between of like, oh, I crossed the boat, now I gotta pay a coin. I did this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And sometimes you forget some of those things, which can be a big deal when it comes to an economic style game of trying to manage your resources and manage your tableau or player area as well. So that's why I'm giving this game a 6 out of 10. This is definitely for a experienced board gamers. Okay, moving on to our replayability. I'm gonna go ahead and give replayability an 8 out of 10. I think there's some great replayability with this game. I definitely wrote this down, and what my runner friend said is this is a game that is definitely a second time game. That means you play it the first time and you just kind of understand it, and you really enjoy it the second time you play it, because there is I think there's like 15 city construction cards. Depending on your player count, you're only gonna do 2 more than the player count. So I played this a lot at 2 players, so we've only been using 4 city constructs. 2 of them you must use, the trolley car and the cableway. So it's gonna take you a couple times to see all the city constructs. All those city constructs are different. They all do different things, which is really, really cool. There's a ton of machines that you can build and the way they interact with each other. So there's so many different ways. Like every time you play this game, it is really, really going to feel different, even though you're moving through all the components very quickly. I mean, like me and my friend have played twice. We've gone through the whole deck, once and a half time, almost every single time we play this game, because we're just, getting rid of cards, drawing new cards, getting rid of cards, drawing new cards all the time, but it still feels fresh every time we play it. So I think there's some really, really great replayability with all the different characters and their asymmetric abilities. You want to try them out and see which one really fits your playstyle. So 8 out of 10 for me. All right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to my overall rating. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the Chronicles of Paldon a 7.5 out of 10. For me, I really, really enjoy the simultaneous play with this particular game once you have gotten it down. Look, this game has the tendency to kind of drag on. So the fact that you can, at certain points in the game, use this simultaneous play to kind of speed it up really, really makes this game smooth for me. I also like the different end conditions here, right? There's 3 different end conditions. The city construction cards are built. You get one faction all the way to the top tier, or you support a faction enough time that 2 of the districts are covered up with tokens. I think this is a cool, unique way. You can have different strategies. Do you want to do a city construction strategy? Do you want to do a support a faction strategy, right? There's different opportunities for you to play the game, and it's not everybody trying to rush. Most economic games, it's everybody trying to rush towards one singular goal. And yes, your singular goal is to gain a bunch of renown, but there's so many different ways you can go about doing that. Now, of course, your city construction cards are always going to provide you the highest amount of renown, so you want to go for those things, but there's other different avenues and pathways that you can take as well to kind of accelerate that. Maybe if you know you're not going to be able to get some of these city construction cards and become patrons for them. Also really enjoy all the different cards in the way they play off each other and all the different combos that you can do. I played one time and there was a workshop card, or there was workshop, I had 3 cards in my workshop and they all kind of played off each other. Like I could generate a high level material, or I could take a low level material and like convert it to the next step and convert it to the next step once per time. And then when I spent a material, I could get that material back. So I love how the workshop cards work. I love that your apprentices can have machines to give them bonuses as they go around. I love how some of them go together when selling on the black market. I mean, there's the first time I played this, I had 2 cards. It was like, if you sell them to the black market together, not only do you get the cash for it, but you get the renown for them as well. So I really enjoy all those different aspects. Again, like I said, the simultaneous play, the multiple end game conditions, and just all the cards and how they kind of play off each other and how they kind of build. It feels like I'm really building out kind of like a tableau in my player area. Now, some of the things that that you guys might be hesitant about, or that I particularly didn't enjoy sometimes about the game, is just kind of that tedious maintenance, right? Of all the different phases, all the different steps within each phases, you know, trying to make sure I tracked all 4 of my actions, especially when you're doing simultaneous play. You take your 4 actions, and then kind of what me and my friend group do is, okay guys, let's kind of explain your actions. So then it's like, okay, well I did this, then I went here, and then I did that, and then wait, no, that was only 3. My bad, I gotta take 1 more. So I think if they had a way to track your actions, that'd be really good as well. And then sometimes your turns feel kind of wasted, right? The big thing for this is if you planned poorly, and I will state that, if you plan poorly, sometimes your turn feels wasted, with the fact of maybe you don't have the required skills for you to be able to build anything in your hand, and there's no skills out there for you to gain from the university. Like, you also don't have the materials that you need, and there's no feasible way for you to have your apprentice get to the materials and then get back to your workshop, because that's kind of that's the main way of how you get materials in your workshop, is your apprentices load and unload materials, or if your apprentices buy your workshop, you can use those materials, but they still have to go buy them and come back. And so there are a few points in this game where it's like you take your turns and then your turn just kind of feels wasted, where it's like, I can't really do anything because the board state right now doesn't really allow me to do anything. And then it's like the other people around the table, it's like, okay, I'm building this machine and this machine and this and that. And sometimes it just kind of has like this defeatist feeling to the game. But other than that, like I said, guys, look, 7.5 out of 10 for me. I think this is a really, really solid game. And some of those things that I outlined below were just kind of the reasons why I really felt like I couldn't give this one an 8 out of 10. But if you like steampunk style games, which I really do, reminds me a lot of City of Marrakesh. If you like economic style games, you will really, really enjoy this particular one. If you like games with simultaneous play, multiple endgame conditions, and cards that play off each other, you're gonna enjoy this as well. But for me, 7.5 out of 10. I think Chronicles of Paldon is a solid, good game that has the potential to be really great. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this content from me, please go ahead and smash that like button, hit that notification bell. Comment down below, what do you guys think about this game? Is this something that you might consider backing? And as always, guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe so we can keep bringing some more awesome content. All right, guys, have a great one. Bye.